Traditional classroom, students are just sitting, listening to the professor lecturing or the teacher lecturing, very disengaged, not as exciting. It ain't working in the tradition in nowadays. Today, students prefer to be active or doing hands-on, reading textbook, using a laptop, sharing ideas. Hi, my name is Samana Kasayo with Department of Education, American College Education. Today, we're going to look at blended learning lesson in high school chemistry. And blended learning involves active learning or hands-on. Students like to do things, whether it be playing puzzles or dancing around. They're engaged, they're having fun. It makes learning easier, retention easier. Firat believes that blended learning incorporates active learning with face-to-face classroom activity with online learning activities. We want students to be doing lower order thinking from Bloom's taxonomy, such as comprehensions and knowledge outside the classroom, and apply the higher order thinking, such as analysis, synthesis, and evaluation in class where the teacher is around to facilitate, guide the student in the deeper thinking. Which method to use to teach is not as important whether it be game-based learning or blended learning, as long as it's active and as long as it incorporates everybody, or Universal Design for Learning, UDL. UDL is based on the principle of inclusive, diverse populations, which is consistent with society's evolving attempts to provide equal access for all from Del and Al. Blended learning uses technology, as watching a video that can have translation of the caption into the native language of the ELL student, or have immersive reader read out texts and articles for a special ed student. Here is the lab designed for student with handicap, wheelchair, that can go underneath the sink and underneath the table, but it also works for every other student as well. This is UDL. What kind of assignment will we give the student that equivalent of blended learning? We can start off with ordering reading at home through one of the websites here, CK12. They get to read to understand about the history of the periodic table. Then here to the right, they can get to watch a video in the same reading. The reading is short. Watch maybe a 2-3 minute video to explain further about the periodic table and to assess if they understood. There's a practice that they take assessment on. All these to make sure they're ready for the next class. Next class, to reiterate, we can go use Nearpod, live participation, where students log in with a code, and they work on a question, 2 or 3 questions, where the teacher can see live how they're operating. This can be used for review, quizzes, even PowerPoint. Right? And then in class, we can do other labs. This is one of the dry lab, where students get to analyze how would they sort the cards? It's just by color, by size of the circle, by these number of spokes. They have to synthesize the idea, evaluate once they're done. Did they do it correctly? And because once you put it in perspective, going across the periodic table increase the number of valence electrons, which determine the reactivity. Now they begin to have the basic foundation for understanding chemistry. For homework, to reiterate the learning, we may have just a regular worksheet or online, asking questions about the trends and ask them how to explain it. In conclusion, teachers give content and then they give student problem to solve. Ironically, as teachers, we have a huge real world problem, the pandemic. How are we going to solve that? How are we going to teach in the midst of this pandemic? Well, with blended learning, both face-to-face and online, it becomes really helpful. There's more time to prepare, but with hands-on active collaboration, it gives authentic learning. I think we're going to do it just fine.